Laura Beth Nielsen is a sociology professor at Northwestern University. In a recent piece for the LA Times, she argued for rolling back free speech in America. She argued that free speech, quote, protects the powerful and the popular. She also argues that hate speech can cause physical effects, PTSD, harmful ailments like perpetuating discrimination and creating inequality. Professor Nielsen joins us tonight to explain. So, Professor, when I read your piece, which I thought was interesting and provocative, the question that kept arising was, is speech protected on the basis of its veracity? What if you say something that offends somebody else, maybe even causes the injuries that you described, and we're just going to assume for the sake of argument those are real, but it's true? Is that protected?
Well, thanks for having me on, and that's a great question. It would be a much harder case to talk about if they were true, but I'm talking about the kind of speech that we know to not be true, that singles people out on the basis of race and is done with that, or sex, or other protected characteristics and categories, and is done with the intent to intimidate. Right? So I'm not talking about sort of debatable political ideas. I'm not talking about.
Oh, no. I'm talking about what you're saying. So if I were to say, for example, a lot of Scandinavians are drunks. I'm Scandinavian. That might hurt my feelings, but it's provably true that Scandinavians have higher alcoholism rates than, I don't know, Italians or Greeks. And so that would be singling me out on the basis of my ethnicity and attacking me, making me feel bad, but it would also be true. So, like, would that be allowed?
It wouldn't. No, because I think it would be very difficult for you to show that it actually caused some kind of harm to you. I'm not talking about hurt feelings. I'm talking about pervasive discrimination. And the Supreme Court actually has opened the door to this in the most recent cross-burning case. Clarence Thomas wrote a concurring opinion about burning crosses and what they must always mean. The other justices were a little more reserved about it, but the Supreme Court has said hate speech, when done with the intent to intimidate, can be regulated. And so I'm here to talk about my research and a lot of other people's research that shows the harms of intimidating hate speech are pretty real.
So Hillary Clinton, during the campaign, attacked the white working class in a bunch of different ways, most famously by calling them deplorable. This is a group whose life expectancy is declining, massively high rates of opioid addiction. So you could make the case that she's hurting them physically. Would you have banned her speech?
Well, I think that would be a great kind of test case if we passed legislation that recognized the harms of hate speech of protected categories, and that would surely be a case that could be made. I'll tell you that the physiological research...
What's a protected
race,
category?
For example, race is a protected category. The kinds of things we protect in Title VII.
But what do you think? I mean, I'm not talking about what Congress should do. I mean, as a legal scholar, you argue that some speech should be banned. Would that speech that she gave, would that be banned? Would you ban it?
Well, the statute would have to be written in a content-neutral kind of way, and then somebody would have to complain about the speech, and then somebody would have to be subject to a lawsuit. Criminal, civil, it could be a ticket, like a speeding ticket kind of thing, and then there would have to be a constitutional determination process. We're not going to figure that out in,
But you're talking process. You're talking process. But I'm trying to figure out about intent and the philosophy behind this. Do you think that attacking a group of people on the basis of their race, as she did, should that be banned or not? I mean, if you were in charge, would you ban that, or wouldn't you?
Well, I think the question for politicians is really, really hard, right? You have the same question with Donald Trump today with his tweet, and I think politicians would have to be sort of separated out in a way. But let's imagine that some, personality said it on TV. I think there should be intimidation and a threat of violence, right? I mean, this is the Facebook algorithm for hate speech. So there has to be not just that they're drunks, but they're drunks and they're useless and we need to go kill them all. Or they're drunks and they're useless and I wouldn't mind if people mowed them down. And I think there's an increasing...
But that's a different I wonder, though, whatever happened to... Remember when there were liberals who defended free speech? There were free speech absolutists who used to say things like...
Oh, my God, I remember.
Do you remember them? And then they all became fascists. Do you remember that? And they decided we're going to punish you for saying things we don't like.
Fascists.
Well, a lot of them did,
No,
like the
no.
ones who wanted to curtail the freedom of speech that we've grown up with. I mean, I'm sorry, those ones.
Well,
but whatever
in the legal academy, it's a pretty small group. I will tell you that. But one of the really interesting things, Tucker, is that when you go out and talk to people. So I'm a social scientist and a legal scholar, and when you go ask people, and I include white men in my research, you know, something I get a little bit of flack about.
Yeah, I mean, who cares what they think?
And I get a little bit of flack about it.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you that they don't experience these harms in public. They don't feel excluded from public places.
Oh, they don't?
They don't.
Not to generalize about a whole group on the basis of their race or anything.
No, to report the social science
speaking
evidence.
for all white men, if you don't mind. Okay.
When was the last time somebody told you how they were going to rape you?
I don't know.
Right,
I mean,
you're protected from somebody asking you for money, Tucker.
I guess
you're protected from somebody asking you for money, but I'm not protected from somebody telling you they're going to rape me.
I treat people as individuals, not as racial categories. I don't think you do, actually, because you're generalizing on the basis of race, which used to be considered repugnant, but I guess now it's common enough we don't notice, but I do.
No, I'm telling you that 38% of African Americans report being targeted for racist speech every day.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying.
4% of white men report that. I interviewed them. I asked them.
Okay, well, it sounds like you've got the numbers on your side. Professor, thanks a lot for joining us, Sam.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. This was really fun.
Now omnipresent safe spaces where they can live lives free of scary ideas they don't understand. Now Adam Carolla wants to put them at risk. He's teaming up with radio host Dennis Prager to make a documentary film called No Safe Spaces. We're going to travel the country and ask college kids about the suppression of dissent on campus. Here's part of it.
The University of Tomorrow is here, a place of discovery, tolerance, and acceptance.
Our commitment to diversity means that nobody graduates until they think just the right way.
At Utopia University, there are no violent words to hurt me.
I will punch you if you're a fascist.
I'm going to be the next Che Guevara.
We speak out against privilege.
We've checked our privilege.
Welcome to Utopia U.
A wonderful place to learn that everything your parents taught you is wrong.
Adam Carolla and Dennis Prager join us now. Boy, this film is overdue. Adam, what did you learn in traveling the country?
Well, so far, we've only hit a couple of colleges, but all you have to do is watch your show, and you'll learn everything you need to know about campuses turning into a romper room.
I mean, it's so distressing. Dennis, when you talk to these kids, do they know how unfree they are?
They don't care. This is what's so disturbing. What was it, a Pew poll, I think it was? About half of the kids at college in America today believe in freedom of speech, because the others, when you ask them, and you could see this on the internet, it's amazing to watch these kids say this, oh, we believe in free speech, just not for hate speech, not understanding that nobody ever really needed to protect love speech.
Well, hate speech is not actually a legal category. It's kind of hilarious that they think it is. So, Adam, when you go to these camps, you got the biggest podcast in the world, by the way. Congratulations on that. When you show up at these college campuses, or when you deal with college students, do they understand that things are very different now from the way they were when you were in college? Do they sort of know that they're in the middle of this moment, or do they think it was always this way?
I wasn't in college, but thank you. I was on a construction site picking up garbage.
That's my favorite thing about you. I forgot that.
The only hydrating I did was a gourd full of my own tears, Tucker. No, they'll remind me of that kid from the Twilight Zone who's just going to wish anyone into the cornfield who disagrees with them. And we're all so scared to be wished into the cornfield by these little snot-nosed brats that we just follow suit.
You know, it's actually, we're making this movie, and it's at nosafespaces.com. We're making this movie, but the truth is it's impossible to parody what actually takes place. Harvard, and I want all your viewers to look this up, because what I'm about to say will sound like we made it up, or certainly like Adam made it up. At Harvard, they announced, I think it was last week, that no longer will there be fines on your overdue library book, which is 50 cents a day, by the way, 50 cents a day, because we understand how much pressure a Harvard student already has on him or her. You don't have to pay your overdue book fine.
Then why, I mean, the obvious question, final question to you, Adam, since you didn't go to college and you did just fine, why would you send your kids to college?
Great question.
I would like you to come and speak to my wife, Tucker, because I've been saying this for a million years. We're just sending them to be poisoned.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like that Nike commercial. Like they're out in the audience wearing gray jumpsuits and being indoctrinated into these horrible ideologies. To be fair, some of them should be scared when the giant Jewish guy comes and yells at them. But other than that, they have no excuses.
Right. I'm very scary. I really do. I scare them.
Well,
No,
I
it's
hope
the whole
you do
thing.
scare
It's
them.
painful. Yes,
It is.
yes, you're
No
right.
Safe Spaces is the movie, and every person on the show is going to watch that. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Tucker.